Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome to Past Pass. My name is Robin, your favorite lanky, blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy, and today we're gonna talk about love hotels. Yeah, also known as romance hotels, fashion hotels, leisure hotels, amusement hotels, couples hotels, and boutique hotels. Or you can call them what we all know them by, the sex hotels. They tend to be cheap places where couples can rent a room for a few hours or a night so they can have some alone time. We'll start with their history, get into how they became so popular, and then go over how they're used today. Just a heads up before we get into this one, folks, this is gonna cover some sexual themes. If those make you uncomfortable or just don't interest you, this may not be the video for you. With that being said, let's go take a look into the great world of love hotels. Modern love hotels did not come to fruition until the late 20th century. Their origins can be traced back to the Edo period from the years 1600 to 1868, a flourishing period in Japanese society that was characterized by internal peace, political stability, and economic growth. Back then, some tea houses were created to serve as places to rendezvous with sex workers and geisha, or had separate entrances for people staying for more suggestive reasons. Those ladies would rent rooms to entertain their clients in, if you catch my drift. Fast forward to the 1920s, which brought about the Enshenku 1 yen dwellings that could be rented hourly and featured Western furnishings like double beds and locking doors. Locking doors. Now things are starting to get kinda steamy and suggestive, right? Patrons could quite literally pay 1 yen to rent a room for a couple hours instead of paying to rent a room for the night. This type of flexibility allowed these establishments to build their customer base, now hosting everyone from ordinary couples to prostitutes servicing clients. After World War II, a new term was coined to describe a new trend, tsurekomi yado, or the bring along inn. This term was used to describe basic lodgings typically run by families with a few extra rooms to share. These types of hotels first sprung up around the district Ueno, located in Tokyo, because of demand from occupational forces. They especially took off after 1958, when the prostitution prevention law was enacted, moving the industry underground. The early post-war period saw a lot of young couples living in extended family homes where privacy was scarce. Tsurekomi inns were the solution for this because they were cheap, could be rented by the hour or by the day depending on needs, and centered around privacy. Amenities were more basic at this time, but were just as, if not more, enticing as they are today. As love hotel scholar Kim Ik-yeon pointed out, customers had to wait their turn to use the bath inside a tsurekomi inn, but once their room was called, a couple would have a whole bath to themselves. This was a great luxury at the time, when most homes did not have a bathtub and people frequented public baths instead. This predecessor to the love hotel peaked around the late 1950s and early 1960s. To truly understand how popular these were, consider there were around 2,700 tsurekomi inns in Tokyo alone in 1961. In fact, the opportunity was so alluring that some ordinary citizens turned their homes into these inns as a chance to make some extra cash. With the Tokyo Olympics approaching, Japan's tourism and hospitality industry was flourishing, in part thanks to these inns. The transition from tsurekomi inns to love hotels happened in the late 1960s to mid-70s. As the tsurekomi inns upscaled their locations, Japan's economy was entering a period of stability during this time after a long period of growth. The baby boomer class was reaching adulthood, fortifying Japan's middle class as a healthy and a large one. Savvy Tokyo, a Japanese media platform targeted towards women, noted that the first real love hotel opened in Osaka in 1968, the aptly named Hotel Love. Not too soon after that, Hotel Love found themselves with fierce competition in the 70s and 80s, which can be attributed to Japan's thriving economy and fascination with Western culture. There are definitely some other reasons they took off, though. One factor was the Osaka World Expo of 1970. This convention was key in sparking an interest in international travel, with Japanese people longing to visit the United States and Europe. Amidst this passion was a desire to rework the outdated and gloomy tsurekomi inns into more modern establishments that fused Western design and Japanese culture. With the massive profits hotel owners had made from the past years, the industry as a whole basically underwent a transformation to establish a new standard, the one we see today for the most part. Love hotels ambitiously undertook new endeavors to amp up the experiences they had provided. While we'll get into some of the more standard amenities later on, the 70s and 80s were all about going big. We're talking about things like a vibrating bed, human washing machine, planetarium, gondola, and a play swing. Sounds like my ideal room. Every love hotel was trying to outdo one another in order to secure customers. Sometime during the 80s, things calmed down a little bit, with the design of hotels reverting back to simpler styles. While the designs toned down, the amenities only expanded from there. Karaoke machines and video game consoles, as well as other forms of entertainment, were more commonplace in the rooms now. The shift was triggered by several factors as identified by Kim Ik-yeon in her Part 2 article on Love Hotels. The first factor was revisions to the Entertainment Business Law made in 1984. Before this, love hotels were subject to the same rules and regulations standard hotels followed, under the authority of the Ministry of Health and Welfare, which has since rebranded as the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. The revision modified love hotels' classification to immovable sex-related establishments. This branding was unsavory, and as a result, subsequent love hotels were constructed with more tame exterior designs. The rebranding was also a result of a changing culture in which love hotels had to step up to meet the demands of a new era. Basically, what we mean there is that people were getting hornier by the year. No longer were men bringing along women to spend time with in a love hotel with them, but couples were now making the conscious decision to stay together in one. Local marketing had a lot to do with this, as now love hotels started to get profiles in information magazines targeting young couples. One such magazine was Osaka's Piakansai, which ran a piece on local love hotels in 1994. This particular issue did so well that it sparked a trend of other magazines doing the same. This form of advertising was different than the features that love hotels got in the past from adult magazines, where the main goal was to sell the sex. Here, in information magazines, the goal was to sell the experience. As a result, love hotels started to attract more female customers going there out of their own interest. An increase in female customers allowed for hotel managers and owners to get to understand the needs of their patrons better. Hotels started to provide more amenities to women, like we'll get onto later in this video. These strategies shifted how the love hotel decisions are made amongst partners, with Ik-yeon estimating women make around 90% of the room choices for their stay at a love hotel. The economic boom Japan experienced during the late 80s and early 90s led to fierce competition in the love hotel industry. As a couple, going to one became a status symbol activity. Going there with your partner was almost ritualized as a standard date course. While sex is still not a frequented topic of discussion amongst people, customs like going to the love hotel were more unspoken traditions more than anything else. According to Atlas Obscura, a travel-focused media outlet, it is believed that love hotel numbers reached their peak during the late 2000s with an estimated 30,000 across Japan. Today, that number is roughly 7,000, but it's hard to say as many aren't registered with the state. After the turn of the millennium is when things started to truly decline. As the population began to age, and now fewer young people are interested in visiting these love hotels. However, the industry is still doing very well. As a subcategory of the sex industry, love hotels make up a quarter of that industry alone. The Entertainment Business Law was revised again in 2010, placing stricter regulations upon love hotels. Since then, the line that distinguishes love hotels from standard ones has become more and more blurred. Now, although love hotels are known for being extravagant and at times flashy, a main selling point of the love hotel is its costs. Depending on the date and hotel, prices for a brief stay of 2 to 4 hours can cost between 2,900 to 7,000 yen, or around $26 to $63. While an overnight stay can cost you anywhere from 3,900 to 20,000 yen, anywhere from $35 to $181. In addition, some hotels also offer a service time, where patrons pay a flat rate for the stay as long as they check in and check out between distinguished hours. This tends to be cheaper options during the weekdays, in which an all-day stay can be the same price, if not less, as a few hours on the weekend rates. Extras such as the vending machines with sex toys or contraceptives may rack up the cost, but the basic stay can be affordable for most people. On the other hand, it can be argued that no stay at a love hotel is basic. Considering how much variety hotels provide, at many establishments there are themed rooms for people to rent that go along with popular fetishes such as a classroom-themed room, a hospital-themed room, a train-themed room, and countless more. Gotta say, I'm kind of interested in that train-themed room. What the hell is going on in there? Some rooms are even outfitted with BDSM equipment for people to use to their heart's content. Heavily sanitized in between couple stays. Themed rooms go way beyond sexual fetishes though. Many love hotels and the rooms they offer are oftentimes centered around popular culture or other unique ideas. For instance, there's one hotel in Chiba, Japan that's shaped like a UFO. Another hotel in Narita, Japan has a Christmas theme. Hotel Chapel Christmas. Hello Kitty is also a popular theme, or at least more popular than one would expect. What are the other selling points of love hotels, you may ask? Privacy is one of the biggest. When speaking to Atlas Obscura, love hotel operator Shishido-san explained the importance of anonymity. Japanese culture is a culture based on shame, and love hotels can be used with discretion and secrecy, he explained. Japanese people tend to not be very publicly open about sex, so love hotels are necessary as a space to free their sexual desires. Now, elements of secrecy can be found all throughout a love hotel. Of course, features do differ from place to place, but the ones we're about to mention are common throughout most establishments. From the exterior, what most notably distinguishes a love hotel from a typical one is that they usually don't have windows. Some hotels can be identified from their flashy signs and suggestive names. Typically, love hotels also have several complex alternate entrances for the discretion of guests. If guests traveled by car, covered garages, screen partitions between vehicles, and license plate covers give patrons a further sense of anonymity. In the area outside hotels and inside, lighting oftentimes is dim. When checking in, opaque glass is used to conceal the identity of guests. If a guest does not want to arrive with their partner, they can choose to sit in one of the discreet waiting areas marked with letters to make meeting up a seamless process. Nowadays, the room selection process is computerized in most places, making choosing a room as easy as the push of a button or the tap of a screen. Love hotels don't typically work on reservations, although some have made the shift into allowing some for the sake of tourism and booking websites. Once in a hotel room, guests can keep to themselves by solely interacting via a service hatch or telephone if they need assistance. The in-room vending machines with sex toys, lingerie, or other goodies found at many locations are practical for this purpose because they reduce the need to ask the staff for items. Pneumatic tubes are also a popular way of interacting with staff. As payment by cash is preferred at a lot of places, interpersonal interaction is uncommon at these locations, if that wasn't obvious already. Although many themed love hotel rooms come with their own gimmicks, there are plenty of commonalities. In most love hotels, you'll find one large bed, a jacuzzi, mood lighting controls, complimentary condoms, and like I said before, the sex toy vending machines. Costumes are often for rent at an additional cost. I want to be Batman. While the love hotel first emerged in Japan, its rise in popularity led to ventures of people trying to emulate the experience across the globe. To go over all the countries with their own iterations of love hotels would be a video of itself, so we're going to go over two interesting examples. Mexico emerged as a hotspot in the love hotel industry not too long ago. In Mexico and other Latin American countries such as Brazil, Colombia, and Puerto Rico, love hotels are simply known as motels, and that in those countries, that's the only purpose motels are known for. About Mexico's popularity as a love hotel hotspot, A.D. Iribe, founder of the Mexican website Kinky Hotels, claimed that Mexico City has the highest number of love hotels in the world. When writing about this claim, journalist Lauren Philpott from The South African noted that specific numbers are never listed, so it's hard to say if this is true. Regardless, at least before the pandemic, Mexico City has a flourishing love hotel industry of its own and is considered to be a love hotel hotspot. One owner of a Mexican love hotel noted that these hotels emerged in Mexico 10 years ago, coinciding with the boom in boutique hotels servicing the tourism sector. Given Mexico's popularity as a vacation destination for honeymooners, it makes perfect sense that love hotel operators maximize their locations as the most romantic spots they could fathom. Perhaps their budgets are bigger because these hotels go big. The more pricey rooms are outfitted with pools, hot tubs, and saunas, and they can be found in many rooms. Because of the special amenities at many locations, managers note that guests often use them for purposes other than intimate encounters. For instance, a manager from the Picasso motel chain noted how customers have been coming in more often with groups of friends, such as to hang out in the rooms with pools, to chill out and have some drinks. Accounts like that speak to the versatility of love hotels and how in many ways it has moved beyond their love roots. A bit closer to home is India, which has a more toned-down approach to love hotels, but they still play an important role for India's adult population, especially in cities such as Mumbai, where ordinary hotels aren't safe for couples. Love hotels provide safety and comfort for its guests. International correspondent Michael Safi recounted how police would conduct midday sweeps of hotels, arresting unmarried couples for indecent behavior in public. College-aged couples were supposedly forced to call their parents and admit what happened to them. As one can imagine, situations like that can be scary and make couples fearful of staying at hotels. Given the stigmatization of premarital sex and interfaith dating, many couples see no other option but to stay at these establishments for their alone time. To solve this issue that Indian couples were facing, co-founders Blazhaj Blaze Arizanov and Sanchit Sethi created a platform called Stay Uncle, with the purpose of bringing the privacy-oriented love hotel experience to India. Apologies if I completely butchered your name, fellas. We have a guaranteed promise, Arizanov said to The Guardian. No knocks on the door, no weird stares, no questions asked. While there may not be as many enticing amenities at Indian love hotels, they have one amenity that couples there care about: privacy. In fact, Arizanov admitted that he cuts over 10 hotels each month for being insufficiently discreet. Stay Uncle creating a private hotel solution for couples has not erased the taboo, though. According to Arizanov, about half of his team chooses not to tell their families what company they work for. For his partner Sethi, he still finds it to be a touchy subject for his family. Although some hotels have pulled back from being a part of Stay Uncle after seeing their risque marketing, its co-founders believe being progressive is the way to stay in business. When talking to hotels about working with them, Arizanov explained the opportunity love hotels provide. There are thousands of young people with well-earning jobs and lots of free money who want to have fun. And if you reject them, Airbnb will take your piece of the pie. The concept of love hotels in a somewhat conservative country like India is still a divisive subject, but it's clear things are only getting started over there. In fact, Stay Uncle might have competition in the emerging love hotel industry. Oyo, India's biggest platform for budget accommodations, announced a relationship mode in 2018, the year the article was published. It filters out those problematic hotels that worry unmarried couples and only shows hotels that have agreed to not hassle unmarried couples. There seems to be a lot of potential for this concept, especially in such a densely populated country like India, where many people live in multi-generational households. In a country with a declining birth rate and a younger population less interested in sex than its older counterparts, the future seems grim. According to a 2015 survey from the country's National Institute of Population and Social Security Research, more than 40% of people aged 18 to 34 in Japan have never had sex. This trend could have dire consequences for an already shrinking population. National Geographic estimates that if this trend continues, Japan's population could shrink by 30% by the year 2060. A population drop that steep could bring the country into an economic crisis. In order to stay afloat and attract customers, love hotels have expanded their offerings to more than just couples looking for some alone time. Love hotels in rural areas with or near major highway access now provide packages for birthday parties, beauty retreats, bachelorette parties, and couple spa offerings. For women looking to spend a night alone out of the house, many love hotels now offer ladies' plans. Customers indulging in this get a resort-like experience, as Kim puts it, with special offerings like gourmet meals and aesthetic services. The purpose of these plans are to attract repeat customers who might bring a romantic partner with them on their next visit. Considering how many capsule and business hotels serve men only at some locations, love hotels can also be a practical alternative for traveling business people of any gender. The cheap prices make them attractive as a resting place for a layover or a quick overnight stay. Shifting cultural attitudes have contributed to a younger generation less interested in sex. Traditionally, it was thought that having a husband who was successful was representative of a woman's success. Nowadays, that's not exactly the case. Japanese women have been able to achieve economic independence and be successful on their own. That's not the only cultural attitude that's changed either. As the cost of living rises, it's becoming more acceptable to live at home. And it's not just a Japanese thing either, though they do have a word for it, or phrase rather, parasaito shinguru, or parasite singles. Wow, our parents' generation sure is really nice towards our situation. In Japan especially, some people are turned off by the idea of a relationship or the emotional turbulence that can sometimes ensue. Others find more allure in the digital alternatives, such as pornography or adult video games. These alternatives have less risk involved, which is what makes them so attractive. No risk of rejection, no emotional baggage, no risk of STIs or pregnancy either. Psychologist and Harvard professor Craig Malkin calls this phenomenon cyber celibacy. In a piece for the Huffington Post, he wrote, "The problem of cyber celibacy is deeper and far more reaching than its potential to reinforce shyness or social anxiety. Once we've turned away from the world around us in favor of online games or Facebook or pornography, the thrill we get doesn't just offer respite from our loneliness. It replaces our need for connection and intimacy, temporarily, with a euphoria we then come to crave." While this problem exists globally, Japan faces a more immediate threat with their declining population, coupled with a declining birth rate. While love hotels themselves cannot solve the population changes, the businesses have tried to shift their amenities to cater to an aging population. Spa-like amenities are now commonplace, and designs of hotels have become more diversified. Love hotels also have made a heightened effort to appeal to foreign tourists, such as listing on booking websites that I mentioned before. Now, during the pandemic, love hotels took on a new purpose as a place of escape while we all suffered from cabin fever. Because of all the measures in place for privacy and seclusion, they may be one of the safer options for traveling during this time. The lack of interaction with staff and other guests, as well as the distance between rooms, gives guests optimal privacy and a greater social distance than most public places might allow. The inexpensiveness of love hotels made it the perfect getaway for locals with a little bit of that cabin fever. Hotels across the country took extra steps to protect its patrons from COVID-19. A spokesman for the Japan National Tourism Organization said these steps include QR codes for menus, plastic screens for the welcome desks, temperature checks, holographic no-touch touchscreens, and overall heightened and more frequent sanitization. Even before the pandemic, love hotels were known for their cleanliness. Given what most people use them for, the cleaning staff at these establishments make sure to clean extra well for that reason. Given how many accommodations there are to protect guests for both privacy and secrecy, it makes sense that the industry fared better than most during this time. As this pandemic way of life becomes the new normal, domestic hotel bookings have gone back up. There were plans to convert failing love hotels into more standard accommodations for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, but given how the games were postponed a year and then barred spectators, this idea kinda fell through for better or for worse. In conclusion, given the ever-changing nature of the COVID-19 pandemic and guidelines around international travel, it's hard to say when we'll see love hotels make a true comeback. The travel industry as a whole has been hurt by the pandemic. Whenever the time comes, I'm sure love hotels will bounce back as a romantic getaway destination. The global expansion of the idea in recent decades proves the concept is only growing in popularity, even if the place where they started is going through a tough time economically. Now, I can tell you personally, these types of places do spark my interest. Not necessarily for what they've been traditionally used for, but once restrictions are lifted and I can finally make my way to Japan, because I've been wanting to go for a long time, that's right, I'm one of those people. I can't explain why. I wouldn't mind visiting one. Seems like cheaper accommodations, significantly cleaner too. Why not? Seriously. And hey, if I get hungry in the middle of the night, all I gotta do is walk over and get some great flavored lube from the vending machine. Okay, guys. Always remember, if you enjoyed this episode, consider leaving us a like or a rating. And if you really enjoyed it, well, make sure to give us a follow or a subscribe. You know, that way you get notified of all the coming uploads. And until next time, we're gonna catch you later.